Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Putty, and welcome back for another edition of Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. Even in a year filled with very dense episodes where I've had to, but I've been allowed to spend a lot of time thinking about each one, where I haven't just recorded in bulk and a block, where I've spent days sometimes thinking about what I'm going to do for each episode. There has still been a lot of fluidness, a lot of speed in the way stories are told. 2 or 3 characters have gone through life-changing arcs this year. Large changes in their life that make them different and never the same again. But, despite this constant fluidness, despite this constant high-speed development, there has to come a boiling point. A point where everything stops, slows down, it all boils over, and it all begins again. This is where it all begins again. The 2022 season finale show. October, week 3, 2022, at the Speedway. And in tonight's main event, the new beginning of the monster, Ernest Youngman will defend his Mid-Atlantic Championship against the return of the monster, James Diaz. Our other main events tonight include Davis Wayne Newton versus Fro Sure. The winner will get a future Mid-Atlantic Championship opportunity. George Wolfe takes on Logan Wolfsbaine. And, of course, we also have our undercard with Gary Walker making his debut against El Pavo Real. Papa Dan and Robin Delay fighting as Team Progress's implosion continues. An appearance by Canadian superstar Ricky DeColt as he takes on Scythe. The Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Championships are on the line as the Southern Stars take on Devil May Care, the 2022 and I think 2019 Sam Keith Classic winners. And Mr. Lucha is going to be taking on Dewie Archer. If Dewie Archer wins, he gets a future Mid-Atlantic Championship opportunity. Lots and lots happening tonight. We are at the Ace Speedway. The wrestling industry and the economy is in the toilet, but we're running it anyway. Will we succeed? And will this show be a success? We can't quite fill the Speedway, and this was bad. In fact, that was so bad that I'm gonna go and fix it, because I'm a cheater. And, I don't even really care. That was an opening match on a show. Totally not doing that. So, yeah. Yeah, look, it happens to the best of us. There we go. We kick off the show as Gary Walker takes on El Pavo Real. I think that's a stupid fucking mechanic as well. Anyway, whatever. Gary Walker takes on El Pavo Real, picking up the victory with the rolling cradle. El Pavo, of course, flamboyant and fabulous as a heel, comes out with his fast, high-flying, lucha libre-infused style, with that cockiness, that arrogance that you expect from someone as flamboyant as El Pavo Real. And Gary Walker is a more down-to-earth basics, and also we got more people in, good. More down-to-earth basics, trained in the Mid-Atlantic Dojo, has that technical basis that you can expect from somebody from the Mid-Atlantic Dojo, and indeed, he works down the Peacock, he works down the Flamingo, he works down El Pavo Real and manages to grind out a victory in his debut. Gary Walker has arrived with a victory. Up next, we have Papa Dan taking on Robin Delay, and it is going to be an absolutely emotional match. Papa Dan straight out of the gates, furious, enraged by the collapse of Team Progress, trying to beat down Robin Delay, trying to use that passion, use that fire, and indeed, he does get to use that passion. He does get to use that fire, and he takes it to Robin Delay, who is big. Robin Delay is born with those genetics that make him able to look as good as he is, but he's capitalized on that. He's in the gym every single day, and he is a big lad. He's stronger, he's faster, and Robin Delay is getting the match taken to him by the fire and the raw aggression of Papa Dan. But in the end, Robin Delay proves that some things are just naturally bound to happen, and indeed Robin Delay is just naturally better than the Papa, and indeed he puts him down brutally, clinically, with no emotion at all. Delay down, Papa Dan falls, and Robin Delay picks up the victory. Scythe defeats Ricky the Colt. Ricky the Colt, of course, with that charismatic Canadian brawling. He's got that charisma. He's got that crowd-pleasing style as he tries to take it to the monster, but the monster is just too strong. Scythe is enraged after losing to Fro Sure last month and takes it to Ricky the Colt, brutally beating down the pretty boy with left forearm after right forearm after left forearm after right forearm, a mix of vicious kicks, vicious punches, and brutal monster-like clubbing blows as he destroys the blonde sensation, the Colt boy, who is becoming a big hit up in Canada for Canadian Golden Combat. He gets his face punched in by the monster. He's not the monster, he's the demon, Scythe. And it is now time for our Tag Team Championship match. Can DMC reclaim their titles and become a record 3-time Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champion? Or will the Southern Stars continue their momentum? Indeed, it's a good match as Devil May Care try to use that Valhalla style. They don't care how many concussions or how many broken bones they get so long as it leads them to glory. And they know 3-time Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Championships would be the finest glory. And indeed, they take it to the Southern Stars, who have been really good and continue to put on one hell of a performance here tonight. But they're unable to keep down the raw passion, the raw fury of DMC. They're unable to keep down the Valhalla high-risk attitude of DMC, and indeed they had almost a 1.5 year reign. They lost it to Southern Stars, and they use that passion, they use that aggression, and they take it to the Southern Stars, going coast to coast, using their jump the shark maneuver, putting their bodies on the line, using their bodies as weapons. Truly one of the most dangerous, unstoppable styles in professional wrestling today, and they take down the Southern Stars with a jump the shark, picking up the victory and becoming 3-time Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champions. That is a record they share with the Dynamite Express and the Aces of Mayhem. Congratulations to both men. As in a 74B excellent technical wrestling exhibition, Mr. Lucha brings that Mexican-influenced technical wrestling. You know, he was in South of the Border, he was a big star in Mexico. He didn't quite make it in South of the Border, not as the biggest star, but he's still a huge name. He's still a huge legacy, and he is one of Oli's greatest legends. And tonight, he comes to Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, infuses a mixture of high-flying with technical wrestling, and he goes toe-to-toe with the architect of your destruction, Dewie Archer. But Dewie Archer is able to go toe-to-toe with Mr. Lucha as he goes hold for hold. He goes limb to limb. Dewie Archer, of course, calls himself the most must-see superstar of Mid-Atlantic Wrestling history. There's no doubt about it. He is one of the best we've ever seen. He's one of the best that we've seen in this industry. And indeed, he is trained by the legendary Sam Keith, and you can see that inspiration as this charismatic grappling goes to town on the luchador, goes to town on Mr. Lucha. And indeed, these two, they battle it out. Technical wrestling styles clash as Dewie Archer brings Mid-Atlantic's core values to head with traditional lucha libre grappling, and it is a sensational clash of styles, a mixture of the high-flying, kind of bump and move on technical wrestling with a Dewie Archer who loves to control a match, who loves to keep it nice and in close with his opponents, likes to make them uncomfortable with how close he is, and how in control Dewie Archer is. With Mr. Lucha, he likes that space. He wants to get that space. The whole point of the technical wrestling from Mr. Lucha's perspective is to gain that space that he needs to turn up the pace, to turn this into a high-octane, adrenaline rush match. And because, of course, Mr. Lucha, beyond that technical wrestling, has some sensational innovative maneuvers up his sleeve. And if he gets that space, he can really turn up the heat. But you know what? He's in there with one of the best technical wrestlers in the business today. He's in there with Dewie Archer, and Dewie Archer won't give him that space. Dewie Archer is too good of a wrestler for Mr. Lucha to get that space, for Mr. Lucha to set that pace, to set the tone, to set the octane of this match. No, Dewie Archer, it will control the match. Dewie Archer will work down Mr. Lucha, controlling the match, moving from hold to hold before locking in the legendary Proton Lock and picking up the victory. Good match here as we move on to our main event. Fro Sure comes to the interview area and he gets on the mic and he says, "Sweet Tabitha, I've been listening to what Davis Wayne Newton has been saying this month, and I gotta tell you, he's wrong. He looks at me and he thinks, I've lost the one thing that made me passionate about professional wrestling. He looks at me and knows that I've lost my drive, my motivation. Bro, he thinks that I'm done. He thinks that what made me passionate, what made me fire, was that I was providing for somebody. And now that that's gone, now that I've lost that I won't be as dangerous. He's crazy. Look into my eyes, Davis Wayne Newton. Do you see a man who's not as dangerous anymore? Do you really think that a man who has lost everything isn't dangerous, isn't desperate? You're wrong. I am more dangerous. I am more passionate. I am more deadly than ever before. And if you think I was bad when I was fighting for the most important thing in my life, how bad do you think I'll be when I've lost that? When I've lost everything. And I sit here and professional wrestling is the only thing in my life that I have left. And you think I'm not dangerous? I am more dangerous than you are. And I am more dangerous than anyone has ever been. Because when a man has lost everything, he has nothing else to lose. Fro Sure heads to the ring, broken, but not defeated. Will he earn a Mid-Atlantic Championship match? In a 69C+, Davis Wayne Newton and Fro Sure have an emotional matchup. Two former best friends who have both had terrible years. Not professionally, but personally. Terrible years. They have changed so much this year, and this match shows it. This is a brawl. This is a Memphis-style brawl. They head to the outside immediately. Throwing left after right, busting each other open immediately. And indeed, this is just a beat-em-up brawl. And these two, they go to town on each other. They brutalize each other because they know that the other man represents the worst of them. Davis Wayne looks at Fro Sure and he knows that's a man he could have been. That's a man that he could have been if he had just made a few different decisions. And he doesn't want to be Fro Sure. He wants to be Davis Wayne Newton. And it's the same with Fro Sure as he looks up and down at the Canadian he used to call a friend, and he knows that could have been him. If he had just given in back in when he faced Logan Wolfsbaine. If he had just given in, he could have won. He could have been in the main event of the evening tonight. But he would have been Davis Wayne Newton, and he doesn't want that. And they strike at each other as if striking at a different version of themselves. And they fight off that other side, the other side that they don't want to see, the other side that they usually keep trapped in the back of their head. They're fighting it in a wrestling match. They've got to confront it, and it is emotional, it is violent, and it is brutal. And Fro Sure is desperate. Fro Sure has lost everything. Fro Sure did this. The only reason Fro Sure arrived in the Mid-Atlantic is because he knew it was the land of opportunity. And he knew if he could get one big break, he could send his wife through college. He could put a roof over his kids' heads. He could keep his family together. He failed. He had 3 years to do that, and he failed. He couldn't keep his family together, and those 4 months out, they were hard for Fro. Logan Wolfsbaine broke his leg, and he spent 4 months without getting paid, and that put strain on his family. He came back out here in Mid-Atlantic knowing that he needed that big break. He needed that big boost, and if he didn't get it, there was just too much strain on his family, and we learned a couple months ago that he wanted to go back and make things right, but it was too late. He'd given up too much in search of a better life, and he couldn't keep together the one thing that drove him. And now he's desperate, and he's sitting there. He just wants one thing to go right in his life. He wants one thing to go right in his professional career as he fights tooth and nail for a Mid-Atlantic Championship opportunity. And he tell you what, he is one of the best brawlers, one of the best strikers in this business today. And he can go toe-to-toe with anyone, especially Davis Wayne Newton, who considers himself a jack of all trades. Leaves himself open to those brutal, brawling strikes of Fro Sure. Again, this is emotional. And indeed, the strikes are coming fast and furious, and both men are starting to fade. And suddenly, of course, the reckless, out-of-control striking of Fro Sure, it's not targeted. It's not precise. There could be collateral damage, and indeed, the fighting spews over, and the referee gets knocked out, and suddenly Davis Wayne senses opportunity. And he grabs a chair and he's about to hit Fro Sure with this chair that he's hit so many with before. And you see it in his eyes. You can see in his eyes a look of thinking, a look of crossroads. And we saw this many years ago when Fro Sure initially re-debuted in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. One of his first matches was against Dewie Archer, a man who was not afraid to cut corners. This was a different Dewie Archer than we've seen tonight. Dewie Archer back then could cut corners all day long. He would cheat to win if he needed to. But he looked into Fro Sure's eyes one match and thought, you know what, if there's one guy I'm not going to screw out of a match, it's this guy. Because he needs it too much. I still want to beat him. I still want to win. But I'm going to do it fair and square. And that was the difference between the architect Dewie Archer and some other people. Is that Dewie Archer was happy to beat Fro Sure. But with a guy like Fro who's so desperate, in such a bad place, he wasn't going to screw him out of a match. And you can see the same considerations over Davis Wayne's face as he looks into the eyes of a desperate man. As he looks at the steel chair and looks at Fro Sure and knows that if he does this, he is screwing out of a wrestling match that means so much to Fro, a man who has lost everything. And he thinks, and you can see that compassion, that humanity in Davis Wayne Newton's eyes before he smiles. And the humanity drains away. And he goes to work. Chair shot after chair shot after chair shot after chair shot. And you realize there's not much humanity left. Davis Wayne Newton has changed, has turned. And he's a vicious, brutal, bitter, broken man as well. He doesn't care that his best friend's lost everything and just needs that one win. Doesn't care that he's screwing him out of a match. Who cares? He's going to do what he wants to do. Everyone else just has to deal with it. He locks in the STF. The referee sees Fro Sure is out. And Davis Wayne Newton has got a shot at the Mid-Atlantic Championship. Him and Dewie Archer both. We'll see how that plays out in the coming months. But this was an emotional one. We're going to move on now to another emotional one. Logan Wolfsbaine and George Wolfe. Logan Wolfsbaine used to be George Wolfe's protege. They used to be members of Team Progress together. And tonight they do battle to see which one of them is really the owner of this yard. And indeed, with their names are coincidentally synergetic. George is the big bad wolf, the man who runs the yard, the leader of Team Progress, the mentor, almost the papa of Team Progress, despite there being Papa Dan. He's the head of the family. He's the war chief of Team Progress, and you've got Logan Wolfsbaine, the man who slays the wolves, who goes at everything and everyone with the passion and the brutality that you can expect from a man who looks like him, because he is a superstar built from the ground up. He is a man who from head to toe screams star quality, and he works damn hard for what he's given. And he's a former Mid-Atlantic Wrestling champion. And he was taught everything he knew by George Wolfe, but there's one thing George never taught him. And that's winning mentality. That's something that Logan had in him. A mentality to win at all costs. And it's what made him a year-long Mid-Atlantic Wrestling champion. It's what made him one of the greatest superstars this business has ever seen. And indeed, that's what we see with Logan in this match. And it's not blatant cheating. It's not steel chair to the face. It's not referee gets knocked out or anything like that. But he's willing to just be that little bit more brutal, that little bit more aggressive, because both these men are loose technical wrestlers at the end of the day. But with Logan, it's more about hurting George Wolfe. It's more about proving that he's better. If anything, there's pride. There's more pride in this match than there is hatred. Because Logan wants to show George that, yeah, I learned everything you taught me, and I'm better now. And for George, it's all about showing that this is his yard and showing to Logan that there's a right and a wrong way to do things. And the right way is going to pay off in the long term. He's a former world heavyweight champion. He's seen the best. He's seen the worst. And tonight, these two do battle, and it's back and forth as they grapple for position, moving between slick technical hold to technical hold, showing some of the most excellently executed holds in the business today. And in the end, it looks like George Wolfe has finally recaptured the momentum. He's lining up that spear. He's lining up for the most deadly maneuver in the business. It only takes one. And suddenly, Dean Waldorf grabs the referee's foot. And the referee falls to the mat. The referee is pulled out of the ring. And Marv Statler is in the ring. Marv Statler is in the ring. And he hits I forget what Statler's fucking finisher is now. I know it's the Waldorf salad toss for Dean. Let's just say they had a wheelbarrow bomb. And Logan smiles, and he extends his hand to the ring generals. They take it, they leave, and he just puts his foot on George Wolfe's chest. Another ref comes out, 1, 2, 3. Logan Wolfsbaine is the winner. And it seems the ring generals are in league with Logan Wolfsbaine. And after the match, all the ring generals, Logan Wolfsbaine and Robin DeLay, congratulate each other and raise their hands. And, you know, we said at the start of the night that this was the implosion of Team Progress, but maybe, just maybe, Team Progress is not over after all. Maybe it just has a new look. Maybe it has a new leader. What does this mean? Find out. Voice crack. Find out soon, hopefully, as this story develops. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our main event of the evening as as Ernest Youngman's theme plays, and he comes out and he looks Sweet Talbot up and down and says, "Hey, Speedway, you've seen it all before." Ernest Youngman coming to the ring claiming to be the best there's ever been. Claiming to be the wrestling machine, the assassin of the squared circle, the ace that runs this place. And you know what? I look into the eyes of James Diaz and he is the return of the monster, and I gotta tell ya, he is one freak of nature. He's an athlete beyond all else. And I tell you what, he's going to be a champion one day, by hook or by crook. And I look into his eyes and I see that fire and I see that passion. And I know that he will be a great champion someday. But that day is not today. And you know why? Because giants may fall and diamonds may fade. But Ernest Youngman is forever, baby. And I gotta tell ya, James Diaz is the future. He absolutely is. There's no doubt in that. I said this about Team Progress all those years ago. They may be the future, and they are. And in the future, they are going to be some of the greatest wrestlers this business has to offer. Their time will come. In the future, it will be their time. But my time is now. That's right, it's my time right now. And I've said it once, and I'll say it again. I'll look you straight in the eyes, baby girl, and I'll tell you what I told everybody. The future goes through me. And I've been out there and I've wrestled my ass off for so many years. And I love this company and I love this business, and every step I get to take in that ring is one of life's simplest pleasures. And tonight I will take those pleasures. I will wrestle my ass off once again. I will main event my second consecutive where it all begins again. And tonight, James Diaz, I will show you that there is more to professional wrestling than physical acumen. You may be fast and you may be strong, but you gotta have the head. You gotta have the composure. You gotta have the passion. And tonight, I will show you that Ernest Youngman is the wrestling machine. He is the best there's ever been. And he is the assassin of the squared circle, baby. Good luck, James. I'll see you out there. Ernest Youngman heads to the ring. James Diaz heads to the ring. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our main event of the evening in a 73B-. Ernest Youngman and James Diaz have a war for the ages. James Diaz, of course, with his his return of the monster style, a momentum that we've seen from him before. He is big, he is fast, and he's had a hell of a year. You know, a lot of guys, they talk about being the best. That's what Dewie Archer does. He goes out there month in, month out, wins matches, and talks about being the best. Some guys just prove it. We haven't heard a lot from James Diaz on the mic, but he has proven time after time that he is an unstoppable force. But you know, if there's one guy who can stop the unstoppable force, you're looking at him. It's Ernest Youngman. The man who has fought so many monsters. Scythe, the Mean Machine, George Wolfe, Logan Wolfsbaine. All four of those have fallen to Ernest Youngman during this title reign. And indeed, Ernest Youngman is the most decorated World Heavyweight Champion in history. 3-time World Heavyweight Champion. No one else has ever done that. First championship reign, what did he do? He went to Puerto Rico and he beat Puerto Rican Power. One of only 7 men to have ever achieved that over 20 years of Puerto Rican power. Ernest Youngman is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. There is no doubt about that. And tonight, though, he's fallible. He's fallible. And James Diaz proves that because he puts Ernest Youngman through a loop. A good 10 minutes, 12 minutes, James Diaz is diffusing every hold Ernest Youngman tries to lock on. He's beating his way out of the technical magician's maneuvers. Ernest tries to put a sequence together. James just elbows him in the face. Bloody nose, brutalized face. Ernest, he's not the prettiest guy. But definitely his features are being rearranged tonight, as every single time he tries to lock in a leg hold, every time he tries to lock in a choke hold, James Diaz just punches his way out, and that's when Ernest realizes this is a different kind of match. But we've seen before, and we see it tonight, that Ernest Youngman is adaptable. When technical wrestling can't counter brawling, Ernest can brawl with some of the best of them. And indeed, that's what he does tonight. Left after right, as he proves that he's got a good right hook, and he's able to take it to James Diaz. And we heard this, I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was Fro, maybe it was one of the Cowboys. But somebody said that no matter how big you are, no matter how strong you are, your jaw breaks like the rest of them. And that's exactly what Ernest Youngman proves tonight, as he just hits James Diaz with some excellently timed and positioned strikes. You can tell Ernest Youngman, not the greatest striker in the business, nowhere near Fro Sure's level, or even James Diaz's. But he knows his head is in it. He is a well-studied student of the game. And he's able to hit James Diaz where it hurts and completely put the monster off his game. Completely put the monster off of that aggressive brutality that he's used to. And Ernest starts to go to work with those submission holds until the monster shows a second side. Because the monster doesn't just have brawling. He hits Ernest with a German suplex, and Ernest is through a loop again. He had defeated the monster through brawling, but he wasn't expecting any technical prowess from James Diaz. He's never shown it before. He's never needed to. James Diaz isn't paid by the hour. And so we've seen, month in and month out, James Diaz just brutalizing people with his strikes. It's all he's ever needed to do. But he just hits this beautiful German suplex, and Ernest tries to get to work again with submission holds, vertical brainbuster. Ernest is through a loop. 2 count, as Ernest is just absolutely stunned at the excellent execution of the throws from James Diaz there. James Diaz starts to pick up the pace, almost Marv Statler-esque throws. Suplex after suplex after suplex, and Ernest has to get back in this, and he does. He tries. He gets to his senses, and he throws a suplex of his own. He throws suplex after suplex, trying to counter, go toe-to-toe with the return of the monster. And indeed, Ernest Youngman, through pure heart and will alone, fires up and fights back, and the monster is wavering. He's shown so much power and so much aggression. One of the greatest main event wrestled matches from James Diaz we've ever seen. But he's up against the wrestling machine. The best there's ever been. And if there's one thing you know from Ernest Youngman is you're going to have to do a damn good job to put him down for good. And Ernest fires up. He fires up passion, fire, heart, everything you can expect from Ernest Youngman as he goes for the brawling. He goes for the suplexes. He goes for the submission holds. And about 20 minutes in, you realize that the momentum has shifted and Ernest sees the finish line. And he throws his hair back, he looks at the crowd, he smiles, he winks, and he locks in every single technical wrestling maneuver you can think of, going hold to hold, going limb to limb, showing that control that only Ernest Youngman has, showing that ability to control a match, to completely dominate somebody on a technical wrestling plane. That's what Ernest Youngman can do, baby! And that's what he does, going hold to hold, putting together one of the finest sequences of technical wrestling we have ever seen in this business before finally locking in that cross-face chicken wing. The deadliest submission hold in the territories today. But it's not over, because James Diaz is a monster unchained. James Diaz is brutal. James Diaz throws elbows backwards, throws punches backwards, anything to get out of the hold, and then starts to power out. James Diaz is on his feet. James Diaz throws Ernest towards the turnbuckle and becomes the first man to break out of the cross-face chicken wing. James Diaz hits the corner, prepares a running lariat. He's desperate now. He knows he's in shit street, and he heads towards Ernest Youngman with his arm extended. But Ernest is too spry, too agile, and Ernest jumps on James. He counters that lariat into another cross-face chicken wing, and all Joe James is squirming. James is furious. He's flailing about. He only has so much breath, and James Diaz eventually falls, passed out. And the wrestling machine is still the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion. An absolutely incredible performance from James Diaz. Arguably, the commentators put this over, arguably this was the greatest wrestled match we've ever seen from any competitor in history to have not won the championship that night. Throughout the ages, whether it's Ernest Youngman back when he didn't have the title, whether it's George Wolfe, whether it's Greg Gage, whether it's Island Boy Apollo, whether it's anyone, Hollywood Bret Starr, it doesn't matter. Nobody has ever wrestled this good and not won the championship. And indeed, Ernest Youngman just proves, time after time, that he is just that damn good, as he beats probably the greatest challenger for the Mid-Atlantic Championship ever. There's no doubt about it, James Diaz will be back, and if he just gets a little bit more experience, you just know he's going to destroy this company and destroy this division. Because even green as hell, even without any sense of intelligence, just pure ability and performance, he came that damn close. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. Check out the rest of the series. And god damn it, 28 of you. Why did you not buy a ticket? We were so close to selling it out. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. Check out the rest of the series. Subscribe if you haven't already. There's a link to my Patreon if you're feeling especially generous today. There's a link to my Twitter if you're feeling like hearing me ramble. Both of those are in the description. This was the finale. Wow, this has been building for a while. I've got a lot planned for next year, and it looks like we're going to keep everyone relevant anyway. US Pro just went up to National. They didn't sign any Megais, thank God, touch wood. So I'm hoping I have a really cool arc for the main event plan next year. I feel like maybe that the main event this year hasn't been too fleshed out. You may have noticed that too, that a lot of the storylines we've been doing this year have been in the upper mid-card. But that's probably because I've just done so much with Ernest already that doing making the show all about him might have felt a little stale. But that's fine. He's still been present. I hope you've enjoyed his title reign so far. There's hopefully much to come, or maybe he's going to lose it next time. Who knows? Because of course we do have the Hot Prospects tournament next episode, and the winner will get a shot at Ernest Youngman's title in the main event. But yeah, so you never know. You never know. And indeed, hopefully we have a good year ahead of us where we can have a good show like this next year, run the Speedway, maybe even a bigger building. We haven't quite booked the Speedway out yet, so you never know. But of course, it is a bit disappointing to go backwards. You never want to do that, but it's not our fault. We've grown. It's just that the industry is getting a little smaller. Hopefully that'll get better in future. And, yeah. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. What do you think about Davis Wayne picking up the victory? Dewie Archer, big victory over Mr. Lucha there. Devil May Care winning the tag titles. I'm going to let you guys in on like a behind the curtains thing. I didn't mean for Devil May Care to win the titles tonight. It was an accident, but it works, so I'm just going to leave it. So, yeah, we're definitely going to go. We're going to have to change some plans there. Gary Walker debuted. What do you think about that? What do you think about the new Team Progress, I suppose? Logan, Wolfsbaine, Robin DeLay, and the Ring Generals. Jesus Christ. Yeah, big changes to the roster tonight. And of course, James Diaz, a sensational performance. Where will he go from here? And where will Ernest Youngman go from here? I have a lot of shit planned for next year. I'm really excited. The main event storyline next year is going to be really fun for me to book if everyone stays. Because it's completely different than anything I've ever done before, kind of. And I'm really looking forward to doing it. So, I hope you guys are looking forward to it too. If you are, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the show in general. The reason why I'm rambling is because this is a 34-minute episode. This is like the second longest episode ever, which is good. Because when we got like to the end of the undercard and it was like 10 minutes and I was like, holy shit, I hope these main events are worth talking about. And they all were, so I was really happy about that. But yeah, I should end it because I'm rambling and it's early in the morning where I am, so I should probably get to doing stuff. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time for the Proving Ground, which will be the Hot Prospects tournament. 8 rookies fight to earn a shot at the Mid-Atlantic Championship. Last year it was won by the Mean Machine. Who will win it this year? Find out next episode. I'll see you guys then.